welcome to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. My name is Kaela Vance, and today I just want to talk a little bit about your mental health and what we have to do to improve our mental health. And I'm talking about general terms. And I was just in a conversation with someone recently, and it got me thinking about how we talk to our clients, how we talk to the people we love about their mental health and about what they're doing to support and to heal. And, as a holistic practitioner, I'm talking about all sorts of things related to healing, whether that's diet, exercise, lifestyle changes, and, coping strategies that you may be using for your mental health specifically. All of those changes take work and they take effort. And I don't think we think about this in those types of terms. And what I want you to do today is I just want to get you thinking about how you can improve your mental health and what you actually have to put into it to make improvements. So when we think about all the things that you do on a daily basis, anything, let's say you wanted to become really good at soccer, okay? If you wanted to start soccer and you want to become good at it, what would you have to do? Let's say you've never played soccer before in your life, well, you'd probably want to go get a few things, right? You would probably need a few items, some soccer cleats, some shin guards, a soccer ball, those would be things to start with. And then there may be certain types of clothing that may be beneficial, but to start off with, you could probably use normal, regular everyday clothing. And you would want to get into some kind of exercise routine because soccer involves a lot of running. And you'd need to stretch out those muscles, and you need some kind of stretching routine, probably need some weightlifting, and you would want to find a team. You'd want to find some kind of practice, some kind of group that will help teach you soccer, the game, the strategies, the skills, the rules, and it may involve going to see and watch other people play soccer so that you can get a good idea of, how the game of soccer works, right? Now, I used to play soccer, but it's been a long time since I have actually played soccer. I enjoy watching soccer, but if you were to tell me that I'm going to go play a soccer game tomorrow, I would be really out of shape and I probably wouldn't do a very good job, okay? Same with anybody starting new. And the same goes towards your mental health. If you wanted to get good at soccer, you may put a lot of time and effort into it. You wouldn't just need all those supplies and know how to do all those things and have to learn all those skills, but then you'd have to start to implement them. So people who do play soccer, let's say high schoolers, college students, professional soccer players. Well, professional soccer players, that's what they're doing. That's their job. They're doing it all the time. High schoolers, let's say high schoolers playing soccer in a competitive league. They probably have practice every single day for several hours a day, and they have, a game a week, maybe sometimes more than that. They're scrimmaging other teams. Some of the players may even be on other teams to continue to build their skills because maybe they're really good and they play on really good teams that also play really good teams and really good players. So those players are putting in a lot of time and effort, and even when they're not practicing, they're probably putting in time outside of practice to get better at playing soccer. Why don't we do that for our mental health? Why don't we put in the time for our mental health? People come to my sessions, and I've been seeing people for over a decade in various types of environments and circumstances and ages ranging from 3 to 90. So I've seen a lot of people, and the things that I've learned is that not all the time, but a decent amount of the time, people will come to session and they won't have done anything between last week's session and this week's session. Meaning in 7 days, 24 hours a day for 7 days, I didn't do that math, so you math wizards out there, you can figure that out. I am not a math wizard. That's over 140, 150 some hours real quick math there. And I know I'm off. So they're spending one of that 150 some hours working on their mental health. I will ask them if they practice the coping strategies we talked about, if they thought about doing anything differently that maybe we discussed in session, if they're reading any books, if they're, using any apps, if they're practicing any skills, if they've talked with anyone about the things that we talked about, and often I hear that they haven't. And as a therapist, it's really discouraging, that I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's your choice. But you're coming to me because something's wrong, something doesn't feel right, you want to make an improvement, and you're not doing anything outside of this session here to show that you want to improve that and to make any progress in that area. And yeah, it's very hard when you've spent, let's say, a lifetime, maybe it's only 16 years, maybe it's 30 years, maybe it's 60 years doing what you are currently doing. Yeah, it's going to take time to reverse some of the bad habits, to reverse some of the negative thinking, to process that trauma that has built on layer by layer, year by year, on top of each other for that amount of time. So coming to me and seeing me 1 hour once a week is not all the work that you need to do. And so if you're out there and you're seeing a therapist and you're working on your mental health, I want you to just consider, how much time do you think it's going to take each week for you to work on your mental health to see the improvements that you want to see? It'll probably take some time, take time every single day, and not just 5 minutes. It may take hours every day. Hopefully those hours are spread out over time in a way that you're not noticing. So it's like when you find yourself getting angry, are you using one of those coping skills to bring down your anger? Right? That's a few minutes here and there, a few seconds here and there, a few tries here and there throughout your day builds over time. It helps your body remember those things that you did. It helps your mind remember new strategies and new ways of doing things, and helps your body and your brain remember, like, oh yeah, that was good and that worked and I like how that felt. I want to do that again. It also helps your body, train your body to learn that, hey, you know what? That thing that felt awkward and that thing that felt really uncomfortable, I know it's supposed to be good for me. It's kind of like if your doctor told you to eat salad and not eat burgers. I don't know. Less junk food, more healthy food, and you don't like salad. Well, so eating a salad every day is probably going to be pretty difficult. You don't like the lettuce, you don't like the spinach, you don't like the stuff that's in the salad, and you're eating it. And if you're my great uncle, you're like, it's like eating grass. I'm eating grass. I don't want to eat grass. Rabbit food. I get it, right? That would be hard work, right? But the more you do it over time, you may eventually get used to it, and you may eventually learn to like the salad. But you won't get to learn to like the salad. You won't ever get used to it if you never actually try to eat the salad. Does that make sense? So when it comes to your mental health, it's about putting in the effort. And the effort is going to look different depending on who you are, depending on what skills you're trying to work on in your sessions, depending on what improvements you're trying to make. Sometimes the effort is goal planning. Sometimes it's figuring out the step-by-step process that you need to take. And sometimes it's using the coping strategies. And if those strategies don't work, making up your own, trying something new, tweaking the strategies that your therapist talked to you about so that they do work for you. And when you come in and you say, well, I didn't do what you said, but I did do this, I am going to congratulate you. I love it when my clients come in and they tell me that they tried something new, or they kind of tried what I did, but they really didn't, but they tried something different and that worked. And we'll discuss what that was. And if it, is a healthy strategy and is something that is good for you and it worked, great, excellent. I'm glad that you made that effort. I'm glad that you tried something that worked for you, because, I'm going to give you ideas, but I don't know what's going to work for you. We're going to try things in session, and maybe they work in session, but then they don't work at home. Maybe they don't work in session, but they work at home. I've seen it across the board. I've seen the spectrum, and I can't say that any one particular thing works for everybody. Breathing is a big one. Practicing deep breathing is a process. It takes time. And practicing looks something like doing it when you don't need it. Coping skills are excellent when you know how to use them. But when you're in the heat of the moment, you're like, say you just had a big argument, or your kid is losing their mind and it's triggering you, and you're also about to lose your mind, and you're trying to recall, like, what's that skill that my therapist told me, how do I do that? And you're like, oh yeah, deep breath. And you're like, this isn't working. Yeah, it's probably not gonna work. Doing something in the moment, learning how to fix a computer while your computer's on fire, not really gonna help. You have to know how to use the skill before you're thrown into it, before it's needed in that moment. You don't figure out how to drive without first taking lessons, without first just sitting in the car and maybe playing around with the gear, all the different pieces and parts, and learning, what goes where and what I need to do, and doing it in a parking lot where there's no cars and you're not going to hit anything, right? You do things small and in steps. Your mom or dad, if you were learning how to drive with a parent or whoever, didn't take you right on the freeway the first thing. No, they didn't. They probably took you to the parking lot. They probably had you, driving around the neighborhood. But the parking lot was probably first. I know it was for me, and I know it is for a lot of my clients who are learning to drive. Parking lot is where we start. It's empty. There's not a lot of things that can go wrong in the parking lot. And so that's where you start. Same thing with your coping strategies. Leave my office and go sit in your car and try something. When you're sitting at home and you're laying in bed and you're getting ready for bed, and everything's fine, right? You're not having any struggles. You're not having difficulty sleeping. It's just, hey, this is an opportunity for me to try that thing that I learned. And as you try it, your body gets used to it. You get used to what it feels like. And then the next time you actually do need it, it feels a lot better and it comes to you a lot easier. So that's what it means by practice. Are you putting in the effort? Are you reading books? Did your therapist recommend a book or a podcast or a song or an exercise? Are you doing those things? If they say, well, hey, think about, what next steps need to happen. Think about what strategies you want to do. Think about, where you want to be in X amount of time. Come back with that being ready. Come back with the plan, and show your therapist that you've thought about it and that you've put the time in. And it's not the therapist that you're benefiting, it's you. You will be the one benefiting from your work and your effort that you're putting in. So if you're trying to think about working on your mental health and your physical health for that matter, think about it as if you were trying to learn a new skill. And if you were trying to learn a new skill, how much time do you think you would need to and want to put into that new skill every day, every week, every month, every year, to get better at it, to get proficient at it, to be an expert at that thing? And then ask yourself, am I doing that for my mental health? And if you're not, I want you to think about what are those things that you can do to get better at that? Sometimes it's going to bed earlier, not just talking about it, but doing it. Sometimes it's putting the phone down, not just talking about it, but doing it. That is working on your mental health, especially if it's something you've talked about, like, oh yeah, I do that bad thing too much, that thing that's hurting me. I should probably do less of that. Then do less of it. That would be working on it. So sometimes it's not doing something that you do a lot of. Sometimes it's doing more of something that you should be doing more of and you're not. It's time. It's implementing certain things. It's making changes. It's, noticing patterns. When I eat certain things, I feel bad. When I eat other things, I feel better. I know when I exercise, I feel this way. I know when I do that type of exercise, I feel worse or I feel better. It's paying attention to your body. It's paying attention to your mental health. It's noticing those things and then trying to do more of the things that make you feel better and less of the things that make you feel worse. Bringing those things to your therapist's attention, or somebody you're working with, or, writing it down if you're not seeing a therapist, making those changes and doing those things so that they are helping you out. So that's my question for you. Are you doing what is necessary? Are you putting in the work that is needed to improve your mental and physical health? And if not, think about what you can do today. What's one thing you can do today to put you on that path, to improve your mental health, to get you on that path of working on it. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something and are thinking about your mental health in a slightly different way today. And I will see you next week for the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. Have a wonderful day.